Which one is more important, grammar or vocabulary? Many people would say vocabulary. After all, many people believe that by learning more words, they will be able to speak English fluently. While I believe that both vocabulary and grammar are equally important, if I was forced to pick between one of them, I would choose a situation in which I have very good grammar but limited vocabulary over having a wide range of vocabulary, knowing many words, but poor grammar. In other words, to me, grammar should always come first, followed by vocabulary as a close second. In today's episode, I'm going to tell you why I believe prioritizing grammar over vocabulary is much more beneficial to your English learning. So, let's get started. Hey there, how's it going? Thiago here, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. How have you been? Hope you've been doing well. Hope you have been having a nice week so far, and it's great to hang out with you once again. In case you're new here, this podcast is designed to help intermediate and advanced learners of English communicate with more confidence, more accuracy, more clarity, and more awareness. If this sounds like something you want for yourself and your English, subscribe to the channel if you are listening on YouTube, or if you are on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, follow the show over there so you don't miss a single new episode. Before we get started with today's topic, I have a very special, important announcement to make. I am super excited to announce that I have created a brand new program, a speaking program that I believe will help you tremendously improve your confidence when speaking English and speaking English more fluently while having my guidance, my personal feedback. Wouldn't it be awesome? Wouldn't it be nice for you to be able to speak English and have me listen to you and provide you feedback when you're speaking? So I have just put together a really cool program, a speaking program, which I call the Speaking Accelerator. It's a very short program. It lasts only 3 weeks. Check it out. It's only 3 weeks, but the bulk of the program is about me sending you weekly prompts. You record your answers to those prompts via an audio message on Telegram. We have a special group on Telegram for that. And then I listen to your audio messages and give you personalized feedback on your English, your pronunciation, your grammar, how well you answer the question or not. Wouldn't that be awesome? And it's a very short program. It's something that you can do in a very short amount of time. And I believe that in just 3 weeks, you're going to see significant improvement in your confidence when speaking English. The program starts officially on July 7th and runs until July 25th. It's literally 3 weeks. During these 3 weeks, we're going to be interacting with each other daily on Telegram. I'll be sending you weekly prompts, questions for you to record your answers to. You send me your audio messages, I listen to them, and I send you another voice message giving you feedback. Isn't that awesome? It's going to be 3 intense weeks of communicating on Telegram via audio messages. All right? So if you want to learn more about this program and how you can join and participate, the link is here in the description of the video, also in the pinned comment below if you are on YouTube, and if you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, it's in the show notes. I really recommend to check it out and enroll if you can, because since this is the first group of this program, I'm releasing this program now, I only have a limited number of spots available, actually, to run this program and see, how effective it is with people. But I really believe it's going to be really helpful to you if you want to improve your English speaking, fluency, and confidence while having my guidance and feedback. So do check it out. Learn more about my Speaking Accelerator program. It's right here in the description of the video. All right, so let's talk a little bit about why I believe grammar should come first in your English learning journey, followed by vocabulary as a close second. Before that, though, let me add a little caveat here, just a little caveat. The only scenario in which I would say that vocabulary is more important than grammar is for survival. Survival. Picture someone who knows absolutely zero English, knows nothing of English. Now, picture that person moving to an English-speaking country. For that person, prioritizing vocabulary is the best way to go. Learning some key words that are used often in everyday conversation in that country, coupled with maybe a few short basic sentences is the best way to go. Because for survival, if you just know a few keywords, you can already communicate a lot. Let me demonstrate. I could go something like this if I don't speak English. Hungry, food, eat. You see? And if I combine that with some gestures, even better. If you're watching me on video, check it out. Food, eat, hungry. You see? I'm not using sentences because, I have zero grammar skills or grammar knowledge here, all right? I'm just using individual words, but you can understand my message, can't you? Yeah? Or at least you can have an idea of what I'm trying to ask for. Another example. Tired, sleep, bed. You see? You understand what I'm trying to say. So in that scenario, yes, I believe that vocabulary is actually useful to be prioritized for survival, all right? But what I'm talking about here is I'm talking about the process of English learning. I'm talking to you, a learner, a person who has already been learning, studying English for a few months, a few years, who want to keep learning this language. And I'm talking specifically to you, the learner who is already at an intermediate or upper intermediate level and feels stuck. Like, oh, what do I do now to unstuck my English? More vocabulary? No, more grammar. So let me explain why. So in this scenario of survival, yes, I can totally understand prioritizing vocabulary. But let's be honest. If you speak like that, you're going to be speaking like a cave person, right? Like a caveman or a cave woman. Hungry, food, eat, tired, sleep, bed. I mean, you don't want to talk like that forever. So, for that scenario, it is useful. But now, let me talk a little bit about why I believe as a learner, you should pay more attention to grammar and you should actually prioritize grammar and add vocabulary on top of it. All right? So first of all, you should view grammar as structures. Think of grammar as the structures of the language, learning how to structure sentences. That could be helpful because I know that when I say the word grammar, many people already have a natural aversion to the word. The word grammar comes with a bunch of negative feelings to many people. So don't think of grammar. Think of the structures. Learning how to structure your sentences better. Think of it like this because, at the end of the day, that's what grammar is about. It's about the rules to structure sentences accurately and correctly. So learning grammar is simply about learning the structures of the language. It's nothing more than that. So keep that idea in your mind. The next time you are studying grammar, don't think, oh man, I'm studying grammar again. No. View it as, okay, I'm learning the structures of the language. What is the structure I'm going to learn today? What kind of sentence am I going to learn to produce today? You see? I think it's a much more productive way of looking at grammar, which is true. It's about learning how to create sentences. After all, most communication happens in sentences, doesn't it? Not individual words. If you go back to that scenario, the survival scenario, yes, with just words you can communicate, but that's a very specific situation. Most communication, most conversations among people happen through sentences. I'm talking to you right now via sentences. Yes, I am using vocabulary on top of my sentences, but there is structure in my speech. That's how I can convey ideas to you. All right? So most communication happens in sentences, not individual words. So why wouldn't you want to learn the structures of English? Why wouldn't you want to learn how to properly write a sentence? Think about that. For successful English learning, I believe you should prioritize grammar and build vocabulary on top of the structure you're learning. Let me give you an example here. A little contrasting example. I have here a text in front of me on my script here to my side, and I'm going to read this text to you. I have two versions of this text, version 1 and version 2. Both texts are talking about the same thing. It's the same idea. But I want you to think which one is easier to understand, which one sounds better to your ears. Ready? So, here's version 1. My profound appreciation for cinematic endeavors. They frequently imbue with exhilaration and joyousness. I witnessed remarkable one even in past. The narrative revolved around impoverished individual becoming one among most affluent tycoons throughout annals. Observing this flick elucidated plethora insights regarding tenacity's vital significance, the audacity to commence one's enterprise, and the acquisition of wisdom from one's missteps. If I could proffer a cinematic suggestion, unquestionably I would advocate for that specific one. That's the first version. Did you understand what I was talking about? Was it clear? Now, here's version 2. Listen. I like movies. They are fun and exciting. I saw a great one last night. The story was about a poor man who became one of the richest businessmen in history. Watching this movie taught me many things about the importance of not giving up, having the courage to start your business, and learning from your mistakes. If I could recommend a movie, I would recommend this one. Both texts, both versions are about the same thing, but which one did you find easier to understand? The second, right? The first version is super confusing, isn't it? I mean, the vocabulary in the first version is really nice. There are many smart, advanced words here, right? Look, endeavors, profound, remarkable, impoverished, flick, elucidate, plethora. All very nice, advanced, smart vocabulary. The problem here is that all this fancy vocabulary, all these fancy words, they are assembled or organized in a way that makes it difficult to understand the message because the grammar is not there. Proper grammar, proper structuring is not there. It's just poor grammar with a lot of fancy words. Now, if you look at the second version, the vocabulary is pretty simple, pretty limited. Even the structures themselves, they are simple. They are straightforward. But there is grammar. There is proper grammar being applied here. So because of that, the sentences, while simple and short, they are clear. So the second version is simple, clear, concise, straight to the point, and accurate, which results in the message being clearly understood. You see? So my point with this example is this. Remember this. Poor grammar can cripple, can hurt even the most advanced vocabulary. If you remove grammatical accuracy from the equation, you increase the risk of sounding unclear and leaving people confused. So now let me give you some reasons why I believe you should prioritize more grammar in your studies. Remember that knowing a bunch of words is not enough. You need to know how to use those words in a sentence, as the previous example just illustrated. Let me offer an analogy here. Think of cooking. Imagine you want to cook a nice dish, a delicious meal. Think of grammar as the recipe, the set of instructions and step-by-step procedures you need to follow to cook that dish successfully. Now think of the vocabulary as the ingredients. The ingredients are the words that you put on that dish, that you put in your sentences, all right? So check this out. Without a good understanding of the recipe, grammar, right? Even if you have all the best ingredients, your dish might be a mess or not turn out as intended. While you need ingredients, simply having a lot of them doesn't guarantee a delicious meal if you don't know how to combine and cook them properly. You see? So just knowing a bunch of words and random expressions without knowing how to properly put them together won't be enough for you if you aspire to be a well-rounded, advanced speaker, user of English. Eventually, you need to pay more attention to grammar. You need to pay more attention to the structures of the language. Remember that grammar gives you a proper foundation as well. First, you learn how the language is structured. That helps you produce correct sentences from the beginning, from the get-go. As you become more comfortable with the structures of the language, you start adding more words to your repertoire. It's like building the house first before putting in the furniture and decoration. Here's another analogy. I mean, it doesn't make much sense for you to think about buying the furniture and the decoration of your house if you don't even have the house built yet. You don't know what the walls are going to look like. You don't know the size of the rooms, the exact size to, plan the furniture, the decoration that's going to go in there. So it doesn't make any sense. First, you want to build the house. You want to have the walls, the ceiling, the proper foundation. Once you have the house built, then you can think about adding stuff to it to make it more beautiful, more pleasant. Decoration, posters, flowers, furniture. The house itself is your grammar skills, your grammar knowledge. Is the foundation. Without the foundation, why would you want to add stuff to it when there's nothing there to add to? Then you're going to have a bunch of nice furniture, but there's no wall, there's no ceiling protecting them. That's not how it works. Grammar also provides you with foundation for complexity. All right? A strong grammatical foundation is essential for building more complex sentence structures and expressing nuanced ideas, which is crucial for reaching an advanced level. I talk here on the channel. I'm talking directly to intermediate and upper intermediate learners of English, people who are between B1 and B2 levels and who want to get out of the intermediate plateau, who want to become solid C1 or even C2 level users of English, like true advanced proficient users. So, in order to become more advanced as a user, you need a strong grammatical foundation. It also helps you with your accuracy and clarity, obviously. Good grammar ensures that your message is clear and accurately understood, preventing misunderstandings that can arise from grammatically incorrect sentences, even if the vocabulary is present. I mean, one of the things a lot of you guys who watch me here on YouTube say in the comments is how easy you find to understand me. How easy it is to listen to me for 30, 40, 50 minutes and you understand pretty much everything of what I say. But here's a secret, guys. I paid attention to my grammar. I studied grammar for a long time. I have a strong grammatical foundation. That allows me to communicate, to structure my sentences in a way that is not only accurate, it's clear to you, the listener. The English I have today didn't happen by accident. Didn't happen just because I spent years consuming English, listening to English. A huge influence on the kind of English I have today is the fact that from the beginning, from the get-go, I devoted enough time and energy to learning grammar, to studying English grammar, learning about the verb tenses, and then moving on to more complex structures. So since I'm already hinting at this, let me share very quickly here what I did when I started learning English 20 years ago, at 15. I started with the grammar. I didn't start with vocabulary. I started with grammar. I took time. The very first thing I did was I took time to learn the 12 main verb tenses. There are 12 main verb tenses in English. I took time to master all of them. So what I would do is I would write a bunch of sentences focusing on getting the structure right. My focus back then wasn't really about learning new words. It was about getting the structure right. If I am practicing simple present, I want to make sure that my simple present sentences are accurate in the affirmative version, in the negative version, in the interrogative version. Then my vocabulary was built on top of the structure as the complement or the object of the sentences. Let me give you here a short demonstration. This is what I used to do when I started studying English, okay? So I would start with the very first basic verb tense, the most basic of all, simple present, all right? So first, I would focus on writing down on my notebook simple present sentences in the affirmative, in the negative, and in the interrogative forms. And I would focus on only one complement, one object. Let's pick ice cream, for example. So this is what I would do when I started learning English. I would get my notebook and go like this. I like ice cream. I don't like ice cream. Do I like ice cream? You see, I have here affirmative, negative, interrogative. Then the next step for me would be to change the subject. Same sentence, but just changing the person I'm talking about. So, you like ice cream. You don't like ice cream. Do you like ice cream? And then, he likes ice cream. He doesn't like ice cream. Does he like ice cream? She likes ice cream. She doesn't like ice cream. Does she like ice cream? It likes ice cream. Think about maybe a pet that you have, a dog or a cat. Imagine your pet likes ice cream for some reason. So it likes ice cream. It doesn't like ice cream. Does it like ice cream? And then we, right? The next pronoun. We like ice cream. We don't like ice cream. Do we like ice cream? And then we have you, the plural, right? You like ice cream. You don't like ice cream. Do you like ice cream? And finally, they. They like ice cream. They don't like ice cream. Do they like ice cream? You see, I would write all these sentences down. My notebook, I don't know how many notebooks I had to buy back in the day because, I would write a lot. After that, after changing the pronouns, the subject, I would work on changing the complement, the object, and that is the vocabulary. You see, that's when vocabulary would come to play. You see, my focus originally was the structure, getting the present simple sentences right, only using ice cream as my object, my complement. But after I got the structure right, I would start adding different words. Okay, I think I understood this idea of don't and doesn't and do and does. It's clear. So now let me start thinking of other things that I can talk about. So if I'm talking about ice cream, I can talk about pizza. So let me change ice cream for pizza. And then I will do the same thing. I like pizza. I don't like pizza. Do I like pizza? You see, all the way. What else can I talk about? Burgers. They like burgers. They don't like burgers. Do they like burgers? What else? Salad. She likes salad. She doesn't like salad. Does she like salad? What else? Cake. They like cake. They don't like cake. Do they like cake? And sometimes there was something that was very specific that I wanted to say. Imagine I wanted to say, that kind of water that has gas. The water that has gas in it? Yeah? And then imagine I would go, oh man, what do you call that water that has gas in it? I don't know. Then I will look it up in the dictionary and learn that piece of vocabulary. Oh, right, sparkly water. Okay, now I learned a new piece of vocabulary, sparkly water. So let me add that to my structure that I'm focusing on here right now. I like sparkly water. I don't like sparkly water. Do I like sparkly water? You see, so I'm not saying that vocabulary is not important. It's extremely important. To me, they go hand in hand. Grammar and vocabulary go hand in hand. But the way I went about learning the language was actually by prioritizing the structure first, the grammar, and then adding to that structure the ingredients, the furniture, let's say. So I started with ice cream, and then I started to expand my vocabulary range about food. So from ice cream, it became pizza, burgers, salad, cake, sparkly water. And I'm still focusing on simple present sentences. You see? So the vocabulary is there, but it's built on top of a solid foundation, the structure. This is what I did. And I did that process with all the main verb tenses in English. All of them. There are 12. All right? I'm going to name them now, in case you don't know. So, simple present, simple past, simple future. That's 3. Then we have present continuous, past continuous, future continuous. That's 3 more. That's 6. And then we move on to the perfect tenses. Present perfect simple, past perfect simple, future perfect simple. That's already 9. And finally, the continuous perfect, right? Present perfect continuous, past perfect continuous, future perfect continuous. I did that process with all the structures, all the 12 main verb tenses. Now, you might be listening to me right now, and you might be thinking or saying to yourself, oh man, Thiago, that's so boring. Well, maybe it sounds boring to you, but that was what helped me learn the more complex structures of the language later on. What are the more complex structures of grammar? Passive voice, reported speech, conditionals, mixing the tenses, like, mixing present perfect with past simple, for example, gerunds and infinitives. So think about it this way. Many intermediate learners and upper intermediate learners struggle with accuracy because of that, because they didn't pay enough attention to grammar in their early years as learners. They prioritize speaking and vocabulary, and now they have a working English, that is fine. They communicate, but it's kind of broken here and there. They're communicating in broken sentences or inaccurately, The way to fix that is by being intentional about the foundation, about the structures of the language. If you struggle with simple tenses in English, if you struggle with using past simple and past continuous properly, future and present properly, these are the basic tenses. If you struggle with those, how can you expect to master the more advanced complex structures that are required for you to become a more advanced user of English? How do you expect to use passive voice, reported speech, and conditionals properly if your foundation, the basic tenses, is not solid enough, not strong enough? So ask yourself, is your foundation solid? Is my foundation solid? Maybe I need to go back to the grammar book and start fixing my foundation, making it stronger. So to help you with that, in case you are still listening to me and you haven't bounced from the video, because some people might just hear me talking about grammar that way and go like, oh, you know what, this guy, he prioritizes grammar, he loves grammar, that's not for me, bye. Okay, that's fine. But in case you are still listening to me and what I'm telling you right now, what I'm saying makes sense to you, let me give you an action plan here very quickly, okay? How to split your grammar studies. There are 3 different versions here of how you can split your grammar studies, all right? Version 1, you can start with the simple tenses first and then the continuous tenses later. So you start like this, in this order: present simple, past simple, future simple. Then you move on to the continuous tenses: present continuous, past continuous, future continuous. Now you have learned the 6 easiest tenses, all right? And with these 6, you can already communicate a lot of things, all right? Now, you're going to move on to the perfect tenses. So, simple and then continuous later, remember? So, present perfect simple, past perfect simple, future perfect simple. Spend time on those. Then you move on to present perfect continuous, past perfect continuous, future perfect continuous. Okay, so that's version 1. Okay, you tackle the simple tenses first and then the continuous tenses later. Also, you see, there are 12 main verb tenses. 6 of them are the easiest ones and 6 of them are harder because they are the perfect ones, okay? So start with the 6 easy ones first, and then you move on to the perfect ones later because, they can be confusing. The perfect tenses, I mean. Now, here's version 2. Version 2 is actually what I did. When I started learning English, when I started studying English, I actually used version 2. So you learn the 6 easy tenses first, and then the 6 perfect tenses later. That's what I did. So my order of studying went like this: present simple, present continuous, past simple, past continuous, future simple, future continuous. You see, I was alternating between simple and continuous, but staying with the simple ones first. Then I would move on to the perfect one. So present perfect simple, present perfect continuous, past perfect simple, past perfect continuous, future perfect simple, future perfect continuous. That's what I did. But now there is a third version, which is actually what I recommend you follow. I followed version 2 because I didn't know any better. I didn't have a teacher. I didn't have a mentor, a coach to help me with that. Back in the day, I was 15. I was learning on my own. That's what I did. It worked for me. But now, with my experience of 20 years as a teacher, let me give you the version that I recommend you follow. And this version is you focus on the most common tenses for everyday conversation first. All right? Because there are specific tenses in English that are used the most in everyday conversation. So focus on those first, because by mastering those tenses first, that's already going to help you a lot in your everyday communication. Then after that, in order for you to move on to C1, C2 levels, you want to study the more obscure, more complex tenses. So in order of importance, okay? Pay attention. You want to write this down, okay? In order of importance, here's the list. These are the most common tenses for everyday conversation, all right? Present simple, present continuous, present perfect simple, present perfect continuous. Start there. Start with all the present tenses, okay? With all the present tenses, funny enough, you can communicate things in the present, you can communicate things in the future, and also things in the past. All right? Maybe not accurately, all the time, but only the present tenses already give you a very strong foundation for everyday conversation, everyday communication. Okay? So let me repeat that. Present simple, present continuous, present perfect simple, present perfect continuous. Focus on those. After those, you move on to the past. So you're going to go with past simple and past continuous. Only. Past simple, past continuous. That's it. All right? Then you move on to the future. Future simple. Future simple, I mean will and going to. Future with will and going to, or gonna. So future simple and future continuous. All right? That's it. So in my experience, these are the most common tenses for everyday conversation. All right? For speaking. Not 12, but 8. Focus on those 8 in this order. Study those in this order. After that, okay, of course you don't want to stop there because, you want to be a well-rounded user of English, right? So you can study the more obscure tenses later. These are the tenses that exist in the English language, but they are not so commonly used in everyday conversation. You might hear them from time to time, or they might be more common in texts, when you read books and stories or articles, right? But for everyday conversation, these are not so common. Past perfect continuous, future perfect continuous. All right? But do learn those, do study those eventually. If you spend enough time with all these verb tenses and master them, that will give you such a solid foundation that for you to move on to more complex structures later will be much, much easier. And you will start speaking with more accuracy naturally, just by focusing on mastering these tenses here. All right? But of course, you don't want to just focus on them and forget vocabulary building. Because remember, in an ideal scenario, vocabulary is as important as grammar. So vocabulary is an ongoing process. All right? So let me end with this idea. Vocabulary building is an ongoing process that starts in day one. So from day one, you should be learning new words. And this process of learning new words and expressions is, indefinite, all right? Now, grammar studies, they are not forever, all right? Grammar studies represent only a temporary phase in your English learning journey. I don't study grammar nowadays, guys. I don't study grammar, because I don't need to anymore, all right? Now I focus on vocabulary. I learn new words when I'm reading something. When I'm watching something, I learn a new expression. You see, the vocabulary building is always there, is always going on, but the grammar studies is just for a period of your life as an English learner. It's going to be for maybe a few years, maybe 1, 2, 3 years. You're going to be more focused on getting the grammar down and the structures down. But after that, after you have solidified your grammar, then you just focus on building vocabulary, speaking, listening. Here are some final words. I believe that grammar and vocabulary go hand in hand in language learning and are equally important. Grammar helps you structure your ideas effectively, while vocabulary adds meaning and color to your message. I believe the best approach is focusing on the structure first, grammar, while adding vocabulary on top of it. After you've mastered your grammar, you can just solely focus on expanding your vocabulary, which is something I do to this day. I hope you enjoyed this episode today. I hope this episode made you think more lovingly about grammar, about studying grammar. And before I let you go, it's time for the Learner's Corner. For the Learner's Corner today, I have here a really nice email from a viewer in Turkey, all right? So let's see here what this viewer in Turkey has to say in the email. Hey Thiago, I'm Curry from Istanbul, Turkey. I'm a strength and conditioning coach working with both the general population and athletes. I'm also a master's student in the Department of Movement and Training Sciences at Istanbul University, Sarapasan. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I've been learning English for a long time, and at this point, my English is at a certain level. Since I live in one of the biggest cities in the world, and due to the nature of my profession, I have the chance to actively practice English and use it in my work. I work with some clients and athletes in English. However, I've never given up on my daily reading and listening habits. I've been following you for a long time and regularly consume your content. You've played a significant role in improving my English level. You're one of the people who made me enjoy English listening practice, and I want to especially thank you for that. Without going on too long, I'd like to share a wonderful experience I recently had. At the Faculty of Sports Sciences at my university, the 6th Biennial European Association for the Philosophy of Sport Conference was held, with support from the European Association for the Philosophy of Sport and the British Philosophy of Sport Association. Academics and postgraduate students attended not only from Europe, but also from many parts of the world. I participated in the conference as both an attendee and a host, since it was held at my university. On the final day of the conference, Professor Qiang Gao, a sports philosophy professor from Shanghai, East China University, requested a meeting with the dean of our faculty. Since the setting was very crowded, one of our faculty members asked me to act as a Turkish-English interpreter between Professor Qiang and our dean. I was honestly very excited, because I was going to be responsible for interpreting a high-level academic discussion between professors, including ideas for collaboration and potential inter-university protocol agreements. Fortunately, I successfully completed my duty during the 15 to 20-minute meeting without any problems. Although there were some small hiccups, I was able to interpret the conversation smoothly. More importantly, after the first few minutes, I felt a strong boost in my confidence, and in that moment, I truly felt like this is what I live for. I was practically dancing between English and Turkish in the middle of high-level academic discussions and exchange of ideas. I felt really proud of myself, and the people around me appreciated my effort as well. It was truly an amazing experience for me. And Thiago, thank you, man. Thank you for being an inspiration to me at the beginning of this journey. You rock. I'm attaching a photo below with Professor Qiang Gao and his master's and PhD students. After the conference, we also chatted about where they should visit and what they should eat in Istanbul. I exchanged contact info with a few of them, and we're still in touch online. That's the kind of thing English can bring into your life. Who would have thought I'd have colleagues from China and build friendships with them? In short, the skills we gain in life are really just the sum of the small steps we take over time. So, if we are one step ahead of where we were yesterday, we can do the things we want to do. I hope this story of mine inspires everyone out there. Thanks for everything, Thiago. Love you, man. Who knows, maybe one day we'll have a photo together too. What do you say? Greetings and warm wishes from Turkey. Take care. Hey, Corey, really nice email. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your experience, share this anecdote of yours of, being an interpreter in a university setting. I mean, it's amazing. Yeah, it's incredible. First of all, I want to tell you that you write very well. You have good vocabulary, and the way you structure your sentences is really, nice. Yeah, the way you put them together. And I'm sure that you did a good job as an interpreter there. And so, yes, you should be proud of yourself for such an achievement. And thank you so much for being a follower of my work for such a long time. And I'm glad to know that my work has been helping you in many ways. So, yeah, I mean, testimonials and stories of learners like you, give me motivation to keep doing what I'm doing, and posting these videos here week after week, because it's a lot of work, guys, and it's great. It's great to have that. So thank you so much. All right. If you want to do it just like Corey, you can send me an email by writing to me at hello.teacherthiago@gmail.com, or you can also send me an audio message by going to speakpipe.com/EnglishWithThiago. Don't forget to learn more about my Speaking Accelerator program, which starts on July 7th. There are only a few spots available, limited spots, so learn more about the opportunity, read the page, and if it makes sense to you, secure your enrollment, secure your spot, because I think you're going to have a ton of fun, and it's going to be a great experience for you and your English speaking, all right? It's unlike anything you have ever seen, I guarantee. So do check it out. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, for listening to me talk about grammar and the importance of grammar a little bit today. Subscribe to the channel if you are here on YouTube. Follow the show if you are on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Leave me a comment down below letting me know what you thought about today's episode. And of course, share this episode with a friend who's also learning English. I'm Thiago. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I'll be talking to you very soon in the upcoming episode. Bye-bye.